like tonight has ever happened before, though I'm sure it has around kitchen tables. But tonight is a unique and important evening as we bring together some of the most powerful voices questioning, claiming, redefining, sometimes discarding, and exploding feminism. Sex-working women, two-spirit people, and trans women. We have a packed, amazing night tonight. I'm going to start by asking Mira to come up. Yes, right here. Can you come up and introduce yourself?
Working themselves out, and I really like that this evening is going to be destabilizing. I like that. That's going to make it really true, authentic, and memorable. And something that happened here tonight, I can tell you. And we are starting this by they asked me to introduce Ayana, who's going to do a dedication to the land here. I know that's going to be on. Ayana is probably the person who I relate to the most in the entire country of Canada. She's somebody who's really close to my heart. She's somebody that I feel connected to, even though we might not speak for 4 or 5 years. I could give you a big CV and blah, 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 and I told her that she knows that's not what I'm going to do. So I just want to tell you that I love her a lot, and this tonight could not happen if she wasn't here right now. So Ayana, come on in!
Now I'm here, one of my dearest friends. My name's Yana Mariko. I'm a sovereign Haudenosaunee woman. Mira and I met 20 years ago, almost. We all have a history on this land. I'd like to welcome you onto Anishinaabe land, cousins to the Haudenosaunee, next door neighbors. Stolen land, illegitimate government, and a population mired in Western Eurocentric thought. Help us, grandmothers. We give thanks to the grandmothers and their wisdom and their continuing whispers. Normally in Haudenosaunee, in opening meetings, we ask for everyone to seek a good mind and heart in which to discuss and receive the thoughts and ideas shared. That's all I can ask. Respect for one another. Peace.
And that's good too.
Thank you.
So, my name is Chanel. I'm here from Maggies, the Toronto Sex Workers Action Project. Maggies is a 26-year-old organization that is vying for sex workers. It was founded during a time of persecution of sex workers around the AIDS panic in the mid-80s, and continues to advocate for the rights of sex workers to live and work with safety and dignity. I have a great deal, I feel like a great investment in something like tonight happening as a feminist and as someone who has seen both the incredible things that feminism can create and also the enormously violent divides that it can create. So the inspiration for this evening came from the recognition that we needed to speak back to the tactics of people who call themselves, quote, radical feminists, but use this as a platform to attack, exclude, harass, socially and politically isolate sex workers, two-spirited people, and trans people, and in particular trans women. And there's a history of some of these so-called radical feminists being involved in anti-trans politics, moving into anti-sex work politics, like Janice Raymond in particular. And while there are some self-identified radical feminists who don't claim this, there are many who see members of all of those three communities as not real, as not real women, as having been traitors to feminism and responsible for any violence that they experience. And we see this as part of a legacy of European colonialism here on Turtle Island. A legacy that has attempted to erase Indigenous peoples' gender identities and languages and communities, even though there has always been and continue to be genders that do not match European models. And we're imported here and enforced on people. So this coming weekend, July 5th to 7th, there's a conference happening of these self-identified radical feminists. And we decided that we wanted to create an evening that celebrated our genders, our visions of freedom, our visions of feminism, whether we saw ourselves in feminism or not. So this is our night to build our community's connections to each other, to define and celebrate our community's relationships and what we can learn from each other. I'm going to introduce Eagle Women Singers. A little bit about Eagle Women Singers. They're an exciting female hand drum group singing round dance and contemporary songs. Sue Crow Eagle is the lead drummer, a two-spirited Aboriginal woman from Blackfoot region in Alberta. She started the group in Toronto with women in the community who enjoyed Aboriginal music and needed to spice it up. Her partner Maria joins her in all performances. They've recruited a number of women, and they performed during National Aboriginal Day with Buffy St. Marie. Their love for singing shows in their performance, and Eagle Women Singers supports Maggies.
Good evening, everyone. We're happy to be here. We're strong supporters of Maggies, and we've done some performances for the cause a few times. And the first song that we're going to do is called Stream. I composed a song while sitting in our TV, watching the stream go by and thinking about my life and all its trials and tribulations that I've gone through. And, they just keep going, and throughout life, we go through a lot of things, and we continue to be stronger as each thing goes by, and that was the reason for the song. The next part of the song is going to be called Proud of Our Nation, and that's because we're all from different nations. We should all be proud of who we are and what we stand for. And so with that,
everyone, I'm Keisha Scott. Sorry, I've been away in the outside room trying to work out some of the technical difficulties that we have. So, just first off, my name is Keisha, and I am the Executive Director at Maggies Toronto Sex Workers Action Project. I've been there for the better part of 8 years, and tonight I'm excited to be part of something that Chanel was saying earlier. It's the first of its kind that's happening as far as we know officially. And I'm very excited because I feel that we're very lucky to have Marissa Ross with us from one night. She reprised one scene from her play, Yapping Out Loud, Contagious Thoughts from an Unrepentant War. Marissa Ross is an interdisciplinary artist, storyteller, writer, translator, and social justice activist. She's widely known for her work in video, performance, theater, as well as for her critical contributions to transsexual and sex worker political movements and cultures. In her words, my Métis identity is deeply rooted, historically and spiritually, in the resilience of the first generations of Métis women, the clan mothers behind the mystery of our lives and our collective survival today. Give it up for Marissa Ross. I always want to see her.
My name is Maggies. I have a teacher I've been following for years because I had a hard time. And today he's told me to gather a lot of strength within myself because I needed to do something that I hadn't done on this particular land here, this particular place in Toronto and in public. My name is Maggies, and I'm a Métis woman who's white over there. It's over here and it's more complicated. And it's the right time right now. You know that there's a lot of things going on. and it's the right time for us to come out. We waited a long time, the ones from Quebec particularly, and it's a big relief. I never thought in my life that 23 years as a prostitute rights activist, that I would be an evening like tonight, where I would hear drums in the context of sex workers. It's something that's been missing. We don't need even musical instruments beside the drums and the voices of the women. And it gets carried so high that I know from now on we have the drums on our side. It carries justice, it carries gentleness, and it carries justice, and it carries gentleness. And our message is getting up high today. I know that. I assure you of that. I will read you about the men with sex with transsexual women. They're invisible, they're not here. I'd like, lift your hand if you're a man, a transsexual man who sleeps with transsexual women and you're ready to come out. I don't think many hands will come up, right? They are invisible. How can we be a part of the queer community, the sexual communities, and organize around this where our sexualities as TS women, it's like nobody makes a big deal out of the fact that you don't know the guys. I had a boyfriend that was very visible, the only one in Canada who came out and talked publicly about being a man, an ordinary straight man who's in love with a TS woman, who treats her like a human being, doesn't treat her just like an object, is not attracted, doesn't care if her penis is 1 inch, 5 inches, or 12 inches, doesn't care if she has a vagina, because he recognizes the woman's soul inside, and that is what his own soul, his male soul, goes to and links with. These men are invisible, and I'm going to talk about them, a lot of our sexuality, because people like my boyfriend Mark, who committed suicide in 2007, and I left after that, they're invisible. So what we have to do as TS women is all of our sexuality and our need for affection gets satisfied through the sex trade. And that's something else that is occulted. Our sexuality, personal sexuality, is intertwined with our work. That's important to acknowledge it. So I'm going to talk about clients. Many of you will probably have heard it. It's clients who have touched me. The majority of clients are really nice guys. They're invisible, so that we think of them as white. The majority of my clients are not white for all kinds of very complex and useless to abort here, reason, it is what it is. But we see them as just like one monolithic, rich white men buy services. No, it's more complicated than that. So I'm going to put some name and some texture on something. It's called Dear John. Are you ready? Alexandre, Camille, Adèle, Sacha, Simon, Raoul, Jean-Pierre, François, Mathieu, Juan, Mohamed, Alain, Miguel, Gabriel, Raphaël, Eduardo, Henri, Benoît, Thomas, Saïd, Gilles, Chad, Maurice, Albert et Jean, Cédric, Carmine, Sylvain, Philippe, Carlos, il y en a beaucoup. And of course, I shouldn't forget to mention John. How easy it is to stereotype millions of men when they are all referred to as John. We might as well call them Dick. Sexist hypocrites cheating on their wives, horny brutes willing to buy women's bodies, ugly boogeymen in trench coats objectifying women. But in my book, a bunch of mostly nice guys whose invisibility is perhaps the political missing link to the attainment of prostitutes' rights. As prostitutes, we too often focus on a few bad tricks. The abusive ones who sneak through our screening process, the jerks who set up appointments and never show up, the clumsy twits who squeeze our tits too hard, the ones with cheesy dicks and the foul drunks, the ones who purposely take more time than what they pay for to come. Those make for vivid stories at dinner parties and at performance art events. And feminism has had quite an impact on these guys, huh? All feminism ever did is make the sweetest of my clients feel guilty and make me have to spend extra time playing political therapist, having to reassure them that no, they are not hurting my sense of self, that if I feel exploited at $150 an hour, like I need a serious reality check, and that yes, they should continue seeing me because otherwise I'll be stuck with only stinky assholes who seek with us clients. We don't want the good ones to go, that's why you should internalize clients. I don't know if it is because they stand in such extreme contrast to the way they are portrayed by feminists, but there's something in my clients, in their tenderness and gestures towards me that I find deeply moving. It's in their voices when they finally get a hold of me on the phone. It's in their smiles when they open the door and invite me in. It's in the sparkles of light I see in their eyes and I say, first I collect my money and then I tickle your nipples. It's in the way they tense their bodies and hold their breath when I very gently put my lips on those neglected areolas and start sucking on them. It's in their shivering skin when I slowly work my way up to kiss their tight necks. When I start rubbing my body against theirs, it's in these few seconds when it feels like we're suspended in time, and they hold on and hold on and hold on as long as they can before finally allowing themselves to release decades of repressed desires. It's in their nervously shaking, moist hands trying to caress me with the intentions of the best others. Then it's in their goosebumps and gluttony and giggling and growling and glowing and glory. It is also in this poetic moments now when they see things like, whoa, those are beautiful tits! While caressing my implants, which actually feel about as delicate as a pair of 5-pin bowling balls. For the most part, it's in their courage to see me, a transsexual woman, again and again, because yes, in this culture, it takes courage for a man to get so close, so intimate with an individual whom a large percentage of the population considers a freak. My clients constantly remind me that with reclaiming prostitution as a fundamental and legitimate service come responsibilities. I recently met Claudio, a very attractive, fit 38-year-old Italian man, one who had a lovely penis, the kind I like, and with enough foreskin to wrap all next year's holiday season presents. I learned this from a spiritual advisor. It's not what it's like in the New Age stores. It's much more fun. Where were we? Okay, so the Italian guy with the foreskin, oh my God, was delicious. Things were going quite well, me and him. And we were both enjoying each other, but he somehow seemed uncomfortable with his body. At one point, he even interrupted our session to take a little break. He wanted to hold me in his arms and caress my hair, but while doing so, I noticed him examining his penis and looking quite perplexed. Just as I thought, oh no, not another one wants to know if I find it big enough, he asked me with the most innocent, childlike voice, am I circumcised? Because I had no idea. Whether I am working with a 600-pound disabled man who can't reach his penis to masturbate, or an intersex guy whose genitals are nothing like the ones you're used to dealing with, or simply the average Joe Blow who wants to start under the blankets because he's too shy, the men I meet force me to be sensitive to a certain reality, that I am not dealing with objects here, but with complex and vulnerable individuals who can be stricken by as many body image problems, self-concept issues, and fears of sexual inadequacy as anyone else. Feels funny in the mouth all of a sudden. The English doesn't come, the French mouth is back. Some of my clients are married men, but it becomes clear when speaking with them that they love their wives, very much enjoy their companionship, and in most cases want to spend the rest of their lives with them. It's just that sexuality has become limiting, lifeless, or is simply absent from the relationship. And every so often, I meet a man whose dedication to his wife I find particularly commendable. Anthony is one of them. He started seeing me years after his wife fell ill due to multiple sclerosis. Every time we get together, he would update me on her deteriorating condition and on his struggle trying to keep his family above water, working 2 jobs in order to afford a private nurse so that his wife wouldn't be locked up in a hospital room for the rest of her life. Last time I saw him, he said she was completely incapacitated and no longer cognizant. He told me with tears in his eyes that he saw prostitutes because the idea of seriously dating a woman while his wife was still alive was emotionally unbearable. And that, I thought, must be the true meaning of the word commitment. Ali is a man I had at the time been saved for years. He works for minimum wage at the coat check of a restaurant. He's been fighting for over a decade with the immigration system, spending thousands of dollars in legal fees, trying to have his wife, of whom he speaks with so much love, join him here. When I found out how much he was earning an hour and about his costly ordeal with immigration, I felt concerned, so I told him that maybe he should consider spending money to see me. Don't worry, he insisted, and rightfully offended. If I didn't spend a few minutes of joy with anyone nice, every couple of months, he concluded abruptly, I'd probably kill myself, so don't take that dignity away from me. Michael is a man I saw only once. He called me for an appointment and mentioned that he was sexually inexperienced, that he had been with very few women in his life, never with a transsexual, and that he felt very intimidated. It was a busy day and I was high on Jolt Cola, juggling prostitution with a million chores related to my political and artistic life, so I answered with the voice of the automated secretary like a, come on over baby, I will take care of you very, very well. Oh, he was a tall, handsome 60-year-old who spoke and moved with the grace and grounded serenity of James Earl Jones. When I do this in Quebec, I have to say James Earl Jones, the American actor, because people think it's the guy that embezzled. Look, James Earl Jones. You guys are not cultured. Don't be the bigger. Be careful what you write if you don't know what's around. Because it's a really, really bad man. Like people were confused all of a sudden, but he's black, and there was a big mess in Quebec because of my monologue and my lack of culture. So anyways, Michael was tall and handsome. And he mentioned to me that he was sexually inexperienced, that he had been with very few women in his life, never with a transsexual, and that he felt very intimidated. We're taking it back from the top of the paragraph. It was a busy day, and I was on high on Jolt Cola, juggling prostitution with a million chores related to my political and artistic life. So I said in a sales pitch tone, I'll be right there to take good care of you. He was a tall, handsome 60-year-old who spoke and moved with the grace and grounded serenity of James Earl Jones. Our rendezvous unfolded perfectly, so before we parted, he said, thank you, which they always do. So I replied very mechanically, you're welcome. But he took my hand, he put it over his heart. He gave me the sweetest bisou on the left cheek and said, I mean, thank you. I could tell that there was more to his thank you than simple gratitude for activating his vast difference, so I asked why. He told me that he had been with his wife for 40 years, that she had died 2 years earlier, that he had never been with anyone older other than her in all these years, and that he thought he'd never again feel at ease being intimate with someone until he heard my French accent on an escort service line. These are times when I feel like revolting against this system that is ready to condemn and even jail us for caressing, kissing, and holding each other. These are times when I rid myself of all the fears and anxieties I have about the long-term ramifications of being a prostitute, a social pariah. These are times when I feel like it's worth growing into an old, tired, bitter, dried-up whore. These are times when I feel like there was, indeed, a higher comfort, safety, social status, and even my freedom for a better good, le bien d'autrui. Merci, Miguel.
At this time, we ask all of our panelists to please come to the front and take a place at the table. Okay, so we're just going to start with
Feminists and feminisms, I want to call into this room and thank. I call and give thanks to my grandmother, Nilola, a Colombiana femme who was the first person to teach me how to dance. To my mother, survivor extraordinaire, who lives between this world and the world of her imagination, and has survived breast cancer, diabetes, schizophrenia, and now Alzheimer's. To the cyberfeminists, ephemera, discordia, liquid nation, plastique, ephemera, clone 2, who taught me that mastery was not the only relationship we could have with technology. Because I didn't want to be anyone's master. That we're the virus of the new world disorder, rupturing the symbolic from within, saboteurs of the Big Daddy mainframe, the clitoris is a direct line to the matrix. Who taught me that the moment of the sexual act, I multiply my persona. You become multiple, animal, indomitable power. You were going to have a sexual relationship with 1,000 persons. To the electronic disturbance theater, who taught me that the little Zapatista boy waving the stick at the Mexican Army helicopter has the magic of Mayan technology to make that helicopter go away. To Gloria Zaldúa, who taught me that being mixed race and genderqueer was a magic power of mestiza consciousness, of Neplanta being, that could enable me to shapeshift in the dark into a serpent, a dragon, or a light wave. Along with Joy Moraga and women of color feminists who taught me in this bridge called My Back that I was not the only woman who had been treated cruelly by white feminists. That my experience of being told I was not a woman, right at the moment I was trying to come into myself as a trans person, was an experience so many other women of color shared. To Lisa Weiner, Mahfouz, and Colonize This for teaching me that I was not the first mixed race person that white feminists wanted to make white and erase my heritage. To Leah Lakshmi, Piazza Samarancina, for leaving me a trail that spread across so much femme theory and poetry to a place where I could start to think about and work through the knowledge that I'm a survivor of childhood sexual assault. To Lisa Dugan and Kathleen Hugh for their feminist manifesto where they taught me about femme science. To the Fortaleza de Mujer Maya for teaching me about the sacrifices of indigenous feminists, including being exiled from their communities just for doing theater about domestic violence in their own communities. To Sylvia Rivera and Cece McDonald, who fought back and survived. To Brandy Martell and so many trans women who have passed on to another form. Trans women continue to be the #1 target of murder among LGBTQ people. To Arfiametta, who reminded me not to forget the politics of glitter, and helped me pull these emotions into a form, a code of prayer and invocation, and who teaches me every day about transcript solidarity between femmes of color. What's the vision I see and what's the vision I'm not manifesting but manifesting? The vision I see today is one where feminism is co-opted by people like the FemTechNet network I was recently invited to participate in. This is a network of academics calling for a massive online open course in feminist technology, yet despite mine voicing concerns about reproducing a colonizing dynamic, the call was put out from white feminists at major universities only in English. And as a result, the network is mostly other English-speaking academics in the global north who focus of their project is on adding pages about feminism to Wikipedia. This is disappointing, to say the least. The vision I see today is one where transmisogyny still plays out insidiously, even in our radical circles, where queer and trans mostly means people with vaginas are welcome, and mostly looks like cisgender women and trans men, with very few trans women of color part of the conversation. The vision I see today is one where feminism has not ended the common violence faced by trans women, two-spirit people, and sex-working women. To me, what links our experiences is what Vivian Namaste points out in her book Invisible Lives, when she quotes Janice Raymond saying, "The problem of transsexualism would be best served by morally mandating it out of existence." In this I hear the echo of the official policies of genocide that have caused the death of millions of Native peoples throughout the Americas. It's this logic, I would say, that says that trans women, two-spirit people, and sex workers do not follow hegemonic moral codes, and we are less than human, and therefore we are disposable. The vision I'm working towards is one in which our communities can work together in solidarity to end the violences we face on a daily basis. Towards this end, I'm working on building a network of artists, activists, and hackers. This means you, so talk to me if you would like to join this project. To build networks to prevent and respond to sexual, gendered, and racialized violence. It started with network clothes, like this garment that I'm wearing, but has moved on to really focus on post-digital networks based in personal relationships. If feminism has not been a sufficient framework to address the intersections of race, gender, sexuality, ability, nationality, geography, technology, then what might offer a vision of a more complete political project? The vision I currently am holding stems from decolonization, understanding prisons, white supremacy, and gender binaries as tools of colonization. But struggles for decolonization must be centered in current indigenous movements as seen around the world, from Chiapas to Palestine to here in Toronto. And that's why I'm so honored to be here and so grateful to the organizers for putting this event together. And my current work is focused on building community-based responses to violence to work towards a world without prisons or colonization in collaboration with communities throughout the Americas. Thank you.
Oh my god, what the fuck? This is fucking amazing, isn't it? I'm gonna take a moment to actually.
Where the fuck should I be?
Okay. This is what I'm talking about. Tech at the 519. So I wanted to actually take a moment to enjoy that. To enjoy it, the fact that this is happening. This is incredibly beautiful. I was so moved, Mira, by what you said about having the drums in the space. And also earlier I was just like, oh yeah, Mira's the lady that come up. No big deal. Kind of forgot, you know, Mira's the lady in the space. Anyways, so it is my great pleasure to introduce our next panelist. I'm introducing Monica Forrester. Is a two-spirit black sister, queer femme, adult entertainer, and activist in all areas of the LGBTQ2S and sex work community. I love people who use the phrase adult entertainer. That is like some, you know, industry language. She's the winner of the Inspire Person of the Year, the Black Essence Award, a Gal Person of Color Award, and is currently the engagement coordinator at Maggies and is the ED of Trans Pride Toronto, Transitioning Together. Monica is also a Lottist. She is also one of the co-founders of a great number of the trans programs that we currently have here in Toronto. She is one of the cornerstones, the pillars of trans and sex working communities in Toronto. So please give it up for Monica Forrester.
Thank you, Shana. First of all, I want to say fat news, radical fans. I think the feminist movement here in Toronto, Canada, has worked too hard to allow people to take away what we worked so hard for. There's that trans feminist, which I now identify as. For many years, I tried to fit in. I wouldn't say try to fit in. I was a feminist, but did I fit in? I think I was always looking out for everyone else's issues and kind of erasing my issues as a trans woman and what that meant. And trying to conform to the ideas that were politically right. So once again, I'll just start from this. My name is Monica Forrester. I identify as a queer, two-spirit, black, trans woman, femme. As a sex worker who has allowed me to control my own sexuality, which is hated by both men and women. The sex work community is the only community that hasn't discriminated against me as a trans woman, a woman of color, and the need for survival when society, misogyny, and the trans prejudice was still prevalent. Sex work has allowed me to understand the oppressions women and trans women face on topics of sexuality, violence, and also the empowerment and the ownership that we as sex workers have. And also the ownership of my body that society feels doesn't conform to what normal is. Community action has allowed me to bring awareness to all women and trans women's issues and their resilience. The feminist movement has taught me that we all have our own experiences and we are different when it comes to acknowledging race, class, and sexuality and gender identity. And even if the platforms are the same in the movement, the outcomes are different for every woman, two-spirit woman, and trans woman. Trans women goes way back before colonization in many cultures and communities, before the erasure of history. Trans women were highly influential in many communities and held prominent positions due to our own rare genders, gave the LGBT communities rights. The last 20 years, trans feminism, male and female, have made inroads with the feminists to understand why sex work and trans women to the movement, trans women show to the movement to subvert traditional gender roles for women and the expectation of free labor from women. Sex workers are the public face of women controlling their sexuality, and we are sometimes hated for it, but also has allowed women the ownership of their bodies, their choices, without the shame and the exclusion. My feminism was rooted from my mother, a woman, immigrant woman that married a biracial man. Through my native and black culture, my struggles as a trans woman and a person of color, my identity as a queer woman, trans woman, and a sex worker, and and what I need as a sex worker is the basic human rights and the equality of all women identified needs. Thank you. And we are a good friend of mine, and a lot of you good friends of mine. I've been in the trans community for over almost 25 years. And I give credit for my resilience for all the women that have died prematurely because of the lack of inclusion. And it is the women that have died that has brought visibility to a lot of what's going on today in the movement. And I want to give it up for them. It's really ironic, someone came up to me saying that all the trans march was good, but I didn't see that many sex workers or women of color. It's ironic. I encourage our women to get out there and rally and be visible. But why are they holding back? Sometimes I feel like will their voices really be heard? Have they ever been validated? I've done a lot of research studies and stuff around trans accessibility and trans inclusion. And does anything really change? And that is something that a lot of trans women talk about. They want to pick at us and see what we're all about, and they want us to conform, but what about us? And that was something that within the last couple of years that I thought, why am I trying to live my life for others? Why am I trying to fit in? What about my issues, my struggles? So I'm glad to be here, as part of this rise up of trans feminism, or whatever that looks like, and for the supporters and allies and lovers and friends and family, and just that things won't change regardless if this group comes here, and tries to reform us and tell us what is wrong and what sex workers and trans women are doing to what we work so hard for. So I thank you for coming and supporting and listening and being a part of this great night. Thank you.
So once again, we're going to welcome to the stage Mary Saleh.
Oh, it's a panel? Wait. Oh, it's my turn. She's at the stage.
The stage.
Okay, but I'm going to talk here like everybody else. Voilà, so feminism, and I'm trying to get a sense because I started to be active in around 1990. So I tried to sit back, it's so easy to be stuck in everything in the shit and you're not able to stand back, and I have a tendency to just see things as very negatively. You let me know if I go too fast. Back right here. So I've seen things change, like around 1990 was the end, kind of the official end of radical feminism and lesbian separatism. It was still there. Like me, I was hanging out with these women in Montreal, and they were my inspiration. But they were not enticed. They were kind of the edge of it. Like the other ones were kind of living together, and so there was an edge, a radical sex edge to some of the people who were still separatists, still lesbian feminists. And of course, I helped a lot break some of these things because I didn't fit. I was the best friend of the black lesbians of Montreal. So what happened is that I didn't fit very well as like the man that's very oppressive, especially the white man that's very just like this little oddity thing that was being carried around. But you could see there was a change of consciousness, and I remember one woman from that group of women who were radical at the time. She said, "It's important that you." My name was something else. Let's say it was Noah. As she said, it's important that you're here. She said that around 1988. It gave me validation as a woman and as a feminist, because me from the age of 16, I identified as a feminist. I identified that I would have loved to be just really going hard for women, because I love, I much rather sleep with women, but it just doesn't, I go like, ah, with a guy, with a woman, it's too complicated. So, so much simpler. I think I would get cruised a lot by women. I get cruised a lot by men, but I mean, they won't come to these events like this here. So there was a change of consciousness right there, and it meant also that to trans women, I think, and I was already a sex worker then, sex work already was being introduced, like, and the same thing I think was happening in the US, in different places. But it's important also to remember that feminism is not necessarily just what's been written in books in this first wave, second wave, third wave, and all that theories. Feminism is also what women do in their own community, before there was even a word called feminism, women hanging out in the kitchen, women hanging out in the living room, the women in a rooster place. Anybody knows that film? This is feminism. That's like the feminism that spoke to me as a kid. Women who, whatever the context they were able, like spontaneously, to identify with their heart, with their blood running through their veins, injustice and sexism, misogyny, racism, all these things, homophobia. So it would contrast with the politics and the frameworks that would be imposed on feminism by learned women who came after that. And so these women were definitely, these women are the root of feminism. Feminism, like occurred because there were women who have been practicing abortion, like, and gone to jail for a very, very long time before, like, the movement for abortion. So I want to say that what we're doing tonight and what's happening here particularly tonight, because it's done within an indigenous framework with indigenous representation and with mixed breed also representation, I think this is really the kind of a launching pad for a new era. And we won't need to go to the apocalypse necessarily. We just need to speak with each other, and it brings up the topic of peace. I'm no longer wanting to fight and lead wars, and I was somebody, like, I came across as harsh, but I'm not a harsh person at all in private, but I speak with my heart, and I don't put white gloves, and I never did. So what I say it's truth. What's in me, there's no bullshit in between the two. And I think that we have to do more and more on that, and we have to be careful with the frameworks, but we have to be careful with the anger too. Like, anger doesn't feel good inside. It's necessary sometimes. Sometimes we need to punch back, and sometimes we need to defend ourselves. But I would like to see, because I've been very angry with feminists and radical feminists, I've written a lot and I've presented a lot for 20 years about them. I've wrote something very harsh on their work. He died, and the only thing I ever put out that I regretted, and I wish it was not available. I regretted, but I wrote something else when Mary Daly died also. That was an homage to Mary Daly, like, for certain things that she taught me, despite the fact that she was transphobic and everything. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I know what I'm trying to say. But I don't know how to say it, is that we have to, like, find a way to organically grab all of this and keep it from the root. And the root is not even just starting the women in the kitchen, but it's starting here with indigenous culture as well. That's why tonight is so important. We have to be able to reroot it, and then bring it back out, if that makes sense to you. And we have to propel it in another direction, but without the war. We're not in times of war, and many people are talking about this, like, we have to be careful. The It'll No More movement was started by women, and they have continuously came back and said, hold on with how high you raise the feather. Okay, a feather, watch how much you do this, and what a man is doing. So there's things like this to negotiate around anger and who speaks, and I don't feel good with anger in me, and I don't want this. It's not a movement I can be a part of. I think our strength is in telling the truth and telling it, like, with our heart. I think that would be more powerful, and being indigenous-centered would be powerful, and that is what will get us to a place where we don't have a risk going to jail on a daily basis because we have sex with people and they give us money in exchange of it. Before, maybe they would have given us a bag of potato or, like, some bread or things, but I prefer to ask money. I prefer to choose my own food, So give it away for free. I've tried that for a year. And let me tell you, like, I have much better sex when it's with money, no? You feel the thing about yourself. I don't know how to give it away for free. It's humiliating. I had to work hard. I'm not really bad after having sex for free. And we don't talk about these things, of course, because the discourse is so centered, monopolized, ideologically and energetically by radical feminists and their war against us. Letters from the War Zone is the title of a book by Andrea Birkin. She believes she was involved in a war. So, we might not want to respond that way, and I believe that it's not the right way to go with this particular topic. But there was some energy, like, of fighting there, and I'm not comfy with that. So that's it for me. I'm tired. Bye-bye!
So the next person that I'm going to be introducing is Kim Cosby. Kim Katrina Cosby, a daughter of the diaspora, Arawak, West African, Indian, and Dutch, hailing from Trinidad and living currently in Toronto. Kim is an award-winning multidisciplinary artist, activist, consultant, facilitator, and educator. She has completed a residency both under Debbie Young and Buddy and Baptized Theater. She is co-founder of the People Project, a movement of queer and trans folk of color and our allies, committed to individual and community empowerment through alternative education, activism, and collaboration, and was also featured as one of Go Magazine's 100 Women We Love in 2012, and is a current feature of the Insight Project highlighting Toronto's game changers. Please welcome Kim.
Hey y'all. Okay. So I just have to say that this is maybe the panel that I've been on in my life that I'm like the most nervous about and like the most honored to be around. I've never just have to thank you. Thank you so much for the enormous work that you've all done that allows us to be in this space, and just thank you for your general existence and your words today. I'm so, so, so grateful. So grateful. So I felt like instead of, I'm gonna tell y'all a few secrets. So I'm gonna kind of start from the very, very beginning. My grandmother on my mother's side, she was born in Venezuela and she's Arawak and Dutch. She was raised in Venezuela, but she was kidnapped from her family when she was 16 and brought to work for a new family in Trinidad. And she had been separated from all of her sisters and had worked her entire life, basically caring for other people. And it was kind of like one of those evil stepsister sort of situations. Like the women that she worked for were actually her father's new family. And they were really, really violent and abusive with her. But even after that, what I recently just found out was this woman who I had called my great aunt my whole life was actually one of the women that my grandmother worked for. But when she got kicked out of her home when she was older, my grandmother took her in because she said that no woman and no black woman should be on the street regardless of how they treated me. On my father's side, and it's a trigger warning because I'm going to mention rape. On my father's side, my grandmother we believe she's from West Africa, but she was born in Tobago, and she was a slave. She was an enslaved person, and she worked on a sugar plantation in Tobago. And my father's father was a Scottish plantation owner who everyone in the family called Massa. He would ride up on his horse, and everyone would refer to him like that. And my father wouldn't let me meet her because he said that she had so internalized so much of this really intense power structure of white people being in charge that he just was so afraid of that trickling down into me. So he never wanted me to meet her. And then my mother was a mistress. My mother was with my father for 14 years while he was married to another woman and has been married to another woman up until this day. And still, most of that part of my family does not acknowledge my existence in any positive way at all. And so I would say that I was raised very much by a series of feminists who didn't know they were feminists. My grandmother, who I lived with until I was about 8, when I moved to Canada, every day she would take me to the orphanage that was across the street from our house, and I would play there. And it was really important for her to keep reminding me that even if you have one mango, you can always cut it in half. And it's really important to recognize that it is only through the ways that we share that we create abundance, and we create relationships of abundance. And so even though we didn't have a lot, she always made sure that whatever I had, that I wouldn't split it in half. And that was absolutely how I was raised. When I came to Canada, I lived in a one-room apartment on the Danforth with 2 other families, and have always grown up in the hood. I moved pretty much every single year of my life up until I was 50 and I left home. So I've lived in all sorts of different hoods, from like Jane Finch, like Edmonton and Kiel, Edmonton and Dufferin, and I still live in the hood now, and I feel really like I identify as like a hood-ass bitch. All the people I grew up with were all sex workers. My best friend's mom was a stripper, and we would always go every Sunday, we would go to Yonge Street and pick up all of her gear, and we would like all go with her and try on shoes, and she would like teach us about like walking in heels and like how to create, like how to use your body in ways that felt powerful. And so I think that as I started like growing up, and the more and more I had access to like institutional education, I'm also a proud university dropout, to make that really abundantly clear. And part of the reason why I am a proud university dropout is because I really recognized how valuable the educators in my community were, and really recognized that it was completely absurd for me to pay someone $25,000 a year in order to learn third, fourth-hand accounts of appropriated knowledge that I could learn directly from the people who were sitting beside me. And the more and more that institutional education kept being offered to me, the more and more I found that it took me away from the people and the practices and the values that had always grounded the person that I was. So the more and more I got access to, remember the first time I learned about economics, I was like, this makes literally no sense. Like, we're completely in opposite world. Like, you're saying, let's suppose that all resources are infinite. And you're like, but that's not true. It doesn't even, but that's like the science that literally this entire Euro white Western economy is based on, right? And so I just kept getting access to these kinds of institutions, and I was like, your knowledge systems are whack. Like, they're just totally coming from a completely other space. And every time I would gain entry into those spaces, I just felt really angry and really confused and really lied to. And that the kinds of practices that I was being exposed to were exactly the kinds of things that would divide me from the people who loved me the most. And that so much of the time that access to this kind of education means that we can't talk to like our moms and our grandmothers because they don't have access to that kind of colonial education. And it is so often appropriating their experiences and then talking about them in a way that they can't even understand. Which is like, not only just whack, it's just so violent and so unfair for you to take someone's knowledge and then turn around and tell them that they're stupid. So, when I think about what it means for me to practice feminism, I have never connected with like, I've never even read anything about like second wave, third, like I don't fuck with that shit actually at all. Like my feminism usually comes from from the people who have raised me, the people who are in my community, the hood ass bitches who I still fuck with on the corners, you know, like the chicks who sell my weed, like those are the people who for me, my relationships are most strongly connected to. So when I'm preparing to give a speech at a conference, it's still like my tita who is a nanny in Forest Hill, but who lives on my side of Vaughan Oakwood, who I will go and like run my speech by. Because if it doesn't feel relevant to her, it is not relevant. And for me, when I think about what our work looks like and what we think about in terms of identifying what feminism looks like, if feminism isn't about building more full and safe communities, then I'm not actually sure what you're doing, right? Like if your feminism is deeply about not building communities that include all of us, then I don't know what you're practicing, but it just feels a lot like capitalism. And so I really want to play that game. And I think that I never struggled with this idea of how to find myself fitting into that discourse because I knew that it wasn't about me. And I knew that it was never meant to be relevant for me, and I knew it was never meant to be relevant for the communities I was a part of. And I always, and I feel like part of staying in the hood and staying in the communities that I am a part of has always kept me really connected to that. On like a very statistical place, even though I don't really appreciate statistical knowledge for the most part, because it is usually created in ways that are really problematic. But in Canada today, in Turtle Island, racialized women make 58 cents for every dollar that a white man makes. And First Nations women make 38 cents for every dollar that a white man makes. And this is despite literally all of the knowledge that racialized women and Indigenous women have access to and have created being foundationally necessary for everything in our society. So the green movement, it's so appropriative and messed up to talk about green or environmentalism as an idea that white folks came up with, that communities, Indigenous communities haven't been practicing for literally thousands of years and continue to practice all the time. Or do you remember when, in Toronto, when people were banning plastic bags and plastic and stuff like that, and they were it's really bad for the environment. I remember growing up in my house and plastic containers lived forever. Forever. We reused them until they literally disintegrated in front of us. Those plastic containers, you would go into the fridge and you would think it was sour cream and it was really rice and peas or something entirely different. Or those tins, the Danish cookie tins, right? The Danish cookie tins have everything in them except for the cookies, actually, all the time. So just really for me, really recognizing, and I could call it femme science, we can call it Indigenous science, we can call it the ways in which we just know how to be in the world and actually respect and affirm life. The way that we think about our decisions having effects beyond this very moment, the way that we honor our ancestors in every breath that we take, the ways that we just live and we know how to do this. And I think for me, when I think about feminism as a practice, I want it to be a practice that reminds us that we're already doing this. And that it's really just in the ways that we name it and the ways that it's been taken away from us, our rights to name how good of a job we are doing consistently at taking care of each other, at taking care of ourselves, at nurturing the land, at nurturing technology. Without the internet, we would just be psychic ass bitches all the time communicating with each other. These things are things that we already do and already are deeply, deeply a part of us. And I just want us to remember that whether you believe that, we are made by a creator, or we are explosions from the bellies of stars, either way, we're a little piece of heaven. And I would just want us to really be able to hold on to that magic and that divinity, even when the world is fucked all the way up, that we are just as precious as every single star, as every single mountain, as every single flower, and that when we can find that preciousness or affirm that preciousness in each other, it really is this most divine, for me, feminist, powerful experience. So Ian.
Amira, I believe your name is? I just thank you for coming all this way. I was wondering, because I have a lot of family in Quebec, and I'm actually bilingual as well. I've been trying to connect with Franco-Feminists, and I was just wondering if you could speak to your experiences with feminism and with political activism in general across the language and cultural barriers that you cross all the time.
It's changed a lot over the years because I've been concentrating my activism on various things, always trying to have an all-encompassing thing. But because I'm a spiritual person, I didn't before speak about it, but it's informed my work, activist work all along in a very deep way. That is not even something that I want to talk about because the result is positive. If I fucked up, then something else. But so I've been part of different times. Right now, I really feel what is important and urgent. It'll no more. The East is important. Stretching Indigenous consciousness and Métis consciousness to the far East that way, and with the women at the center. That's my feminism right now. I might not define it in terms of what is this and that, or linguistically, but it's like the other panelists earlier, it's informed by the women where I come from. I live where I grew up right now. I'm the only transsexual there. Most people don't know in general, but that's where I find my strength. Yesterday I came back here after not being here for 5 years. I went directly to see my family Bata. who's in Scarborough, who's a woman after my partner suicided here. You know, you have a lot of support at the beginning and everything, and it's normal that it will fade out. People cannot become full-time like caretaker for you, but you are deeply, it's so messed up that you're gonna die if there isn't somebody like this woman that I didn't know before who came through. A Cuban lady who had breast cancer, had like burns all over her breast, but brought some rice and beans to my floor, the 6th floor, every day for a year. That to me is feminism. That's why I went there directly to live at that yesterday, because I missed her. And because she has such a hard life. And she knows I have a hard one too, and we're very different, like in terms of color, in terms of religion, but we have so many atomes crochus en même temps, in terms of where we come from, who inspires us, women, our mothers, and also like our wholeness in terms of like treating people with respect. She calls me a man, I don't care. She treats me with respect. It doesn't matter to me the words that she used. When I'm in her house, I feel respected. Like her daughter said to me, Mira, you should wear a bra. It's an acceptation total of me as a woman for her to see that. Looking at my nipples, and then I started to I don't like bra. My old aunt didn't wear a bra. Her kids were like this. Those are the kids I want. So like, then it becomes girl chat and women chat. So like these are really the women that want. So in terms of francophone in I think that unfortunately in Quebec, feminists are a little bit francophone feminists. Like we cannot generalize, but en général they're a bit late in terms of like transsexuality, sex work, and things like that. I see this, but at the same time there's some really strong voices and powerful voices and powerful, lots of hard work. We have the first anthology called Lutte X66, the first anthology about the global sex workers' rights movement with the roots in Quebec. Also because we, Maggies already existed here, but co-founded with Cathy, the first association qui cause de travailleurs du sexe. 19-something. It was a long time ago. So like there's been resilient, resistant, and fighting voices like amongst feminists too, and I don't want to just say like, we can't even say just, oh, francophone feminists, the categories are so much. Francophone feminists, a lot of the Aboriginal people in Quebec speak French and are francophone, right? So what kind of francophone feminist, white feminist, or francophone Aboriginal, or Métis feminist? I mean, it's very complex, right? But in general, I feel that energetically on this and politically, I think just getting, I get my lead for like how to act from the people I'm related to in terms of my clan. I won't do something that's like, you know, with the no warning. I waited to see what like people I'm related to are doing. I don't want to be thrown out. I'm getting older. I might need a home somewhere, you know. Just the time to lose your credibility as a rich person with your family there. So, but I listened to that. I listened to that because it was started with by women, and it's been led by women, and including in Quebec, it's different. We don't hear about much maybe in the Anglophone world. But go on my Facebook page, and I put stuff about what's happening in Francophone world all the time. Bye.
Hi, everybody. I asked Chanel to read this message for me to express how much I regret that I could not be here with all of you tonight, and how proud I am of each and every woman in this room for coming out tonight and standing up for herself in the face of a supposed feminism that denies a voice to all but a select few. We were probably all familiar with the abusive narratives that these radical feminists directed us or used to speak over our own voices. For trans women, there are the accusations that we are all just mindless tools of the patriarchy, or dehumanizing claims that our bodies represent nothing more than living, breathing porn. Recently, there have been claims from certain radical feminists that non-Indigenous trans people have no right to acknowledge the existence of two-spirit identities in some First Nation cultures here on Turtle Island. They do so because the long-standing existence of third gender concepts in many cultures around the globe disrupts their theories that trans identity is an outgrowth of what they call porn culture. And in doing so, they align themselves with a historical erasure of First Nations culture by European colonialism. Then there are the constant attempts to speak over the voices of sex workers. Here, radical feminists have allied themselves with conservative politicians to pass laws that put sex sex working women's lives at risk by pushing them in their workspaces underground, away from visibility and public accountability. Underpinning all of this is the cynical belief that ordinary women can't be trusted to make decisions about their own bodies, their own identities, or to build solidarity among one another. I'm proud that all the women in this room showed up today to prove these ideas wrong, but that's not even the main point, because they aren't the main point. The main point is that feminism works best when women work together. Two-spirit, trans women, cis women, sex working and not, women of color and not, we can unite to share our own individual needs and experiences, and to share our vision for a feminist future that can work for the needs of all women, not just a select few. That's from Savannah. First, I want to thank Anna Markle for your beautiful opening today. I want to thank the Equal Women Singers, all of our presenters, Lux for making the film, all the volunteers who flyer the shit out of Pride for us, Jess Gillis Design for designing that incredibly sexy flyer you all saw, our tech and stage managers and photographers, and People Project, the members of Maggies Lounge, our interpreters, I also want to take a moment to recognize Keisha Scott. So Keisha introduced herself at the beginning as the director of Maggies. Keisha will be leaving Maggies, and I want to, this is possibly one of the last public events that Keisha will be a part of. And I think you probably don't really want to come up on stage, but I would welcome you if you want to. I just want to thank you for mentoring me, for creating powerful and very fierce, powerful, shameless sex working community in Toronto, for all that you've done, taking me and so many others under your wing. I don't know what to say. Yeah, I just want to say that it's been an honor to work with you, and thank you for all that you have given to all the communities that you're a part of. And I just wanted to invite in this space the opportunity for some recognition for what you've contributed. We need to show some love to them.
I'm not really good at these types of things, so I'm kind of touching my neck, which is a very big sign. So I guess my thing would be I would pass those thank yous on. Thank you for those things that you said, Janelle. I would pass those thank yous on to the people that essentially hired me and mentored me, which is Cara Willis, Nora Curry, Jen Kamen, Emily LaLiberté, so many people, but as far as people that first come to my mind, I mean, I came to Maggies as an ally, and that had worked in different areas of sex work, but not identifying as a sex worker. And I was given space to learn a lot and to do a lot of things I didn't know how to do, and some that I still don't know how to do. But I think I would just thank the sex workers that essentially, went through the shittiest times in the 80s with cops following them, bugging Maggies, and overall just, being a force that they were like, they don't care, they don't give a fuck what the cops are saying, that they're still going to be a Maggies. So I feel that I was fortunate to be kind of welcomed into that and to be mentored so very well. And obviously, I know that I can put that, which is huge, and I know that I can't learn that anywhere, in any building. So that's all, and thanks so much for all your love and for all the people here that I've spoken to or met at different times that can blame Maggies as their space, because that's essentially what it is, that it's, it's for sex workers to call their own.
draw the evening to a close. I want to thank you for being here tonight. I also want to announce, I mean, Marisol said it, it's a new era in feminism, so now we're just going to go live that, right? Let's just live that. So thank you and good night.